Now here's another thing that's very important, right? And you'll hear this from other, I mean, I'm not the only one, right? When you're sharpening your tools, try to maintain consistency so that every time you pick up that tool, right, it operates the same way. And you get used to it. You get muscle memory. You know what was here, don't you? It was a what? Haven't you ever heard of a what? Haven't you ever heard of a whatnot? Okay. Okay, to make a point, we have to take the center of the tool to the center of rotation. And we're always going to work backwards. If I start up here and I get deeper and deeper and deeper, I'm going to get so much pressure. I don't have a front wall on a tenon here. I'm just going to flip this thing right out. So we always work backwards into our designs. Never work forwards, always work backwards. And then you can control it. You can take a small cut, see? Now what are you noticing? I have to raise the tool handle to take the point down to the center of rotation, don't I? So here we go, right? We make a small cut, right? And we push the cut line with the point. We get right down to the end and we stop moving it physically. We look at it. Now we're going to think about the tool moving forward, and mentally it will. Your body will respond to your mental insistence. And it will go forward, and you can see I got a little tang right there. Right? Okay, that's not too bad. Right? Watch what's going to happen. If I want to bring a 2x4 down to one fiber, right, I have to put a fresh burr on my tool. So I achieved my one fiber. Now when you're working with goon ebony and stuff like that on your finials, right, be very, very careful. Right, because this will bend and break, but on that hard ebony and stuff like it will not bend and break. It'll go right through your hand. Right? And when you've got little finials and you got your little discs and all that on there, make sure that you never touch that with your bare fingers. Always put a paper towel on or something because it will slice it. You know what those deli slicers are for bologna? They got a circular, well, the edge is so sharp on that wood, it'll go so deep, so quick, you won't even believe it. Okay, so what we've done is we've made a little point. So now what we're going to do is we're going to make a disc. On a disc, we're going to have our tool pointed at 90 degrees across the spindle. We're going to have it twisted to the 1 o'clock cutting position. And we're going to let the lower blade touch the wood first, and that's going to sort of clear away some wood. Then as I'm going to just raise the handle. I usually just lift my heel off the ground. I'm raising this handle like the pump at Grandma's farm. You know? I raised that pump handle many times when I was a child. Anyway, you bring it straight up. And while you're bringing it straight up, you have to have this heel lock, and you're going to squeeze the tool to the left. I'll give you an example. Do you see this edge right here? Everybody see that edge? Okay, when I'm talking, this is ahead of the edge, and this is behind the edge. So I'm going to put the tool behind the edge at 1 o'clock, raise it up, squeeze left. Why do you think we're getting that vibration? We're off an extension, and we're out here, and the threads are not totally tight. There's a little play. Okay, here we go. 90 degrees, twisted at 1 o'clock, got my heel locked, I'm ready to squeeze. I lift up, and squeeze left. 90 degrees. Behind the edge, lift up, squeeze left. Behind the edge. Lift up, squeeze left. Squeeze left. Okay, let me just show you why. Let me go up here. Very little vibration, a lot less. You'll get the drift. So now we've done beads, coves, flats, discs, and points. And you can see some of them are torn out a little bit from the vibration, but I'll put a piece of maybe some harder wood on here. I'll make another one up here that's closer to the to all this up here. Okay, I'll just leave those there. And then the next thing you want to do is do some form of combination. Right? And this is where if you make little Christmas ornaments for kids to paint or whatever, you know, it's a good deal. You learn and the kid gets something at the hospital, you know, in the activity room for them to do. Right? And you just start putting these different shapes together. Right? I'll just, let's just do this. I'm going to leave that up there. We'll just leave that. But, I really don't like this. These are very ragged, but I'll do another piece. Just cut that away. I'll just roll a little bead right here. I'll go ahead and make a little disc. I'll make another little disc. So that vibration right on the end is a curve. When my body's moving, make that a little thinner. Make a V cut, flat cut, roll a little bead right there, start on the equator, roll it around, clean that up, and make another V cut. Give our tool a place to go back to the equator. Go all the way around to the center of rotation. Then a V cut. Notice I'm turning it back to 12 to get rid of those little whizzers. Right? Cove cut, see the tool go above the wood? V-cuts just get rid of material. Make a V-cut right in here. Okay, now we're going to take this and we're going to make a cove, a flat, and a bead. Combine them. Alright? So we're going to push, lean, drop. I did my cove. Now I move my hip to the right to make my flat. Now I bring the point all the way down into the center of rotation to make the bead. And we have an OG curve. If you'll go home and practice on 2x4s, come to my shop, get a little hands-on instruction, and you'll change your wood turning life completely. Making a V-cut, getting rid of wood, and reach underneath so you can still see. Now I'm going to make this downhill. See, I'm going downhill. That gives my tool a place to go without it bending this thing off the leg. Keep going downhill and come around. And twist. So, it's not perfect, but you can see the idea of wood slicing here off of an old 2x4. Now when you get to the hardwood, you can really make some fine detail.
If we sand it, we'll dull it.
You sand it, no, it just gives you an idea. You know, and like I'm going up to Crossville, Tennessee. Right? I'm going up there, right? I go around to the different clubs. They've got a big thing for ornaments, you know, for the kids and the hospitals and all that. They're auctioning off, you know. So I've been up there a couple times, and I said, well, I'll come up there and help y'all. So I think we got 13 signed up right now. And we're just going to make little ornaments all day long, because kids can paint those. It takes you about 4 minutes an ornament, you know. But I did mountain laurel Woodturners here. I've done those for several years. I think last time I was at seven of us did 271 ornaments in one day.
Wow.
That's turning some 2x4s. Not bad for an old man, is it?
Did everybody understand what he was talking about, the chatter? His
Yes,
chub
this
is
is
an
way
inch,
up.
inch and a quarter, and the lathe is 1 inch, so there's an adapter on there.
Right.
So that's a good lesson for everybody, because I have the same thing in my shop, and I've got different chucks for that reason. And I try not to use those adapters because you end up with exactly what he was showing us.
But it's okay.
Yeah.
You know, you just have to take a tinier bite and have a sharper tool.
I wanted to make sure everybody knew why that was chattering so bad. Because once you got closer to the chub, it went away.
Another thing that's happening also, just so that you know, right? Another thing that's happening, these threads won't exactly mesh down tight on any lathe, right? But your larger lathes have a little bit more beef than the smaller lathes. But anyway, okay. Let's go to wood slicing on end grain and side grain bowls. Is there any other questions on the spindle work? And again, all right, what you're going to do is you're going to put your regular parabolic curve on the front. You can do that with your jig. But on a spindle gouge, you can't roll it over like a bowl gouge. Right? And then all you're going to do is take this on the grinding wheel. You're just going to roll it back and forth, and make that a convex shape. The reason I don't use concave is because if I have a convex shape here, that means that I can actually ride the bevel all the way around. The first 128th of an inch rides the wood. If you have a concave, the bevel can't rub the wood. Yes.
Explain the physics behind riding the bevel. What is it doing?
Okay. it supports the forward cut, right? That farmer on the plow, he has a sideboard on the plow. So he lays that sideboard up here, and it holds the tool and it supports the cut. The horse pulls the point in, we're going to push the point in. The curl of the plow lifts and curls the dirt. This curve on this tool, or the bowl gouge, or the roughing gouge, is going to lift and curl the wood. But let's just remember when I pulled that across doing the flat cut, I pulled it sideways. I didn't have any bevel support. Once I had the bevel support, it comes out real smooth. It just supports the cut. But it always, the bevel, whatever shape you're making, whatever tool you're using, the bevel is always 90 degrees to the surface of the wood. Period. There's no other way it can be, or it's not riding the bevel. If I go to a show and I'm asked to judge the art, what do you think I carry in my pocket to judge the art with? A straight steel ruler. Because if you have a straight steel ruler and you roll it around a curve, it only touches at one point. If it touches at 2 points, then you've got a variation in the curve. So if you want to make, judge yourself, right, always take that steel ruler. And you take a light also. You can see little shadow if it's not quite round. You can always see a little variation in the light. Okay, let's go to bowls. How many people can turn a pretty good bowl? No hand, no confidence in this place, come on.
You've seen some of these guys, they can turn bowls.
They can turn bowls?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Now here's the question. How long does it take them? How much sandpaper do they use? Do they start at 400 or 800 grit? Or do they start at 60 grit? Do they have tear out? Right? So in the wood slicing routine, what we're going to do is I'm going to do an end grain bowl. We may not complete it, but we'll do the cuts. Right? And we'll pass it around. And we're going to try to teach you how to do it with no tear out, because 90% of the people get hung up down in this corner. Then they try to go across, they try to push that bowl gouge across, and they get all kinds of chatter and tear out and everything else, because that grain is going this way.
Very nice.
Here, we'll just leave it with the club, and you can auction it off or something for a fundraiser or do
Give it to
whatever,
Bob behind you there.
And somebody can hang that on their Christmas tree in remembrance of me.
Thank you.
But isn't that fun? It's so much
He's
fun.
donating that. Really nice one. Bob turns in great too. We got several guys in here. They're just not going to speak up.
What's the advantage of end grain?
It is beautiful.
You can sell it for a lot more than you ever can a side grain bowl. What's another advantage of end grain?
Get more usage out of your wood.
Yeah, it doesn't warp. All you gotta do is cut a section off the log and put it on the lid and turn it. And it doesn't warp when it dries. It all shrinks proportionately. And another thing, when you're cutting and working with it, you don't have that end grain, side grain chatter all the time. That's pretty close. That's pretty good. All right, we're just going to mount this between centers. See if that'll grab it. I guess it will. Okay, so what tool are we can we use? What tools can we use on this end grain bowl to get it roughed out? You could use a bowl gouge, but what would be more efficient? To rough it. What can you make a planing cut with? I heard it over here. You can do it with a bedan or a spindle roughing gouge. This is a spindle. Okay. So you can take a bedan. It's locked in.
How many of you have used a bedan to do what he's talking about?
Yeah, because what we're going to do is we're going to make a planing cut.
You see. Yeah. Like a parting tool. Maybe sit.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to A, anchor the tool, B, rub the bevel, and all we got to do is raise the handle. And we need to crank that down a little bit. Just raise the handle. Take a little cut. Now let's look at it and see if we've got it actually round. I'll make one more little cut, then it'll be round. So then what we'll do is we'll take a marker in here somewhere. So I have all my students put a do not touch line on the bowl. And they're not allowed in my shop to touch that pencil line until the bowl is completely done. Okay, the next thing we can do is we can take our bowl gouge. We can make a plain, here, let me just show you this. See, we can do this with a roughing gouge. Really efficient. So the first thing we do is we get it round, we make a do not touch line. Take this in, I'm going to make a tenon on here. I'll make a planing cut. If I make a planing cut, I should get a ribbon. Again, the bevel is 90 degrees to the surface. And my tool is at a 45-degree angle. Because that's where bowl gouge operate, 45 degrees across the image. Okay, here we go. Now I'm going to make the tenon. I have right angle jaws. Some people have dovetail jaws. You have to make the appropriate tenon. So I've got to parallel my bevel right here. I'm going to roll the bowl gouge all the way over. So I get a sharp, sharp angle. I can't have a curve in there. So I put my jaws up there and there's a curve. The jaws won't touch the front wall here. It's the front wall that holds it on. It's not this. Okay, and then we're going to do our outside shape. The outside shape on an end grain bowl has to be from the top to the bottom. And the side grain bowl has to be from the bottom to the top. So now we have a variety of tools we can use. We're going to start from the back. And as we come around, we have to do what? We have to raise the handle to drive it to the center of rotation. We're making a bead. Anybody want to come up here and check out the cut with the bowl gouge? You're welcome to come up and touch it and feel it, if you want. Or get somebody as a representative to come up here and determine whether it's A-okay or
I
not.
can see the shiny.
Rochelle, you want to check it out?
Thank you.
Okay. No, it's very important because what we feel here is what? A little bit of raised grain. Why? The lower blade on the bowl gouge is doing what? It's almost a scrape, isn't it? It's flat across as I'm going. So what would be a better tool to make the final cut? This is a dry piece of wood. What's the best thing we could possibly use? We could do the spindle gouge, can't we? Because it's a big spindle. So let's try the spindle gouge. Now, the blade is more in line with the rotation, isn't it? Doesn't have that big. See how the edge of the bowl gouge is out? See, this is almost perfectly in line. Okay, so now what we'll do is we'll do a got a little deep there, we'll have to make a secondary cut. Does anybody want to check that out? Much smoother. No tear outs. Let's do this one. People are welcome to come up and feel that. There's no tear outs. No tear outs. It's your roughing guide.
The shininess is always dictated by the shavings too. I was watching your shavings as they're coming off. Real smooth and real thready like.
If you've got the shavings consistently coming off, the tool is operating correctly.
Yeah, I was watching that to see what I was doing.
Okay. So now, what we're going to do is we're going to turn this around. Well, let me just complete this. We'll make a little halfway decent shape here. Okay, so it's not perfect. I got a couple little lines up here, but guess what? We've got our basic shape. All right, we're going to turn it around. I'm going to show you how to finish off the inside of it. You see now the pith is right there. A little bit off center, but we'll see how that interacts with it. Now, if you have a green bowl, if you're turning a green piece of wood end grain, when you get done, the outside and the inside, you're going to put it in a box or a bag or something, let it sit for a year, right? Let it dry out. When you take it off, you're going to spray accelerator on the inside and turn around, take some thin super glue and put it down the pith on the back. The accelerator will keep it from coming through and staining the wood. Because if you super glue this inside and you put some type of finish on there, then the finish is not going to absorb in the wood at the same rate because the super glue has blocked up the thing. So down the pith, I usually, soak the accelerator, and then I come back on the back side and I go around the tenon and I make sure that wherever the pith is, it goes down the pith. And then that's coming off. Okay, let's knock this thing out.
That's good information. I appreciate that.
Well,
So that's good information. I appreciate that.
and remember, when you're playing with box elders, right, super glue turns box elder chartreuse. So you've got to be very, very careful about that.
What's that again now? I didn't quite hear.
Super glue turns wet box elder chartreuse. And you'll never get rid of it. So you gotta be very careful. Okay, now where did the edge of the dip? Now, when you're doing hollow forms and end grain bowls, right, you just have to be very aware of the differences that you're playing with versus, the side grain. It just depends on how much sanding you want to do. So, we could probably start, I might put a little 220 on there right off, but what I'm saying, you don't have tear outs. You're always going to have some nervous ridges. Boom, those will go right away. But if you have a tear out, then you've got to take all the wood away to get to the bottom of that tear out. And sometimes it's a lengthy sanding process. Oh, he keeps smiling. He must have done that. Now, you know why I'm able to teach? Because I've made every mistake in the And you learn. Yeah, I mean, mistakes are good as long as you don't get hurt. It's a great way that you, when things happen. I'll give. I was just talking about that box elder. I had a gorgeous platter, about that big. I put super glue on it, when it was wet to keep it from cracking in the pith and everything. And I had, at that point in my turning career, learned that you can't let it soak through to the surface that you see. Right? So I had this beautiful platter, gorgeous. Had this chartreuse stain in it. I took it to 13 different shows. I couldn't sell that sucker for 10 cents. So one of my students, she had never done a show. So I said, well, I'll bring my mini lathe and we'll set it up and you can do all the turning and you can put your stuff up there. I says, I'll bring some of my old items in the back. I didn't want to compete with her too much, right? So there's this gorgeous platter sitting there. So I said, make me an offer. Make me an offer. This one gal came by and she looked at it and she looked at it and boy, she picked it up. She looked all up. Then she finally walked away. Didn't make me an offer. 20 minutes goes by. She comes back, picks the thing up, looks at it. I said, go ahead, make me an offer. She just clammed up, walked away. About 40 minutes goes by. She comes back with her father. She was getting married. I found that. Right? She loved that platter. And boy, she picked it up, handed it to him. They had their little discussion and all that. And I just let them go at it. And I said, she really likes it, doesn't she? I said, make me an offer. And he sort of didn't get it, And I says, I'll tell you what. I says, I got the steal of the day. You got $15, you can carry it away. He said, are you kidding me? I said, no, $15, you can carry it away. And I learned, right, about that chartreuse, the super glue turning chartreuse. I mean, I probably paid $25 for the piece of wood, but I just didn't want to carry it to another show. Okay, so now we're in our bowl. What's the first thing we have to do? True up the face. Okay. What?
Sharpen our tools.
Oh, yeah. I don't know, you guys, the grinder here, we're okay for tonight. Okay, so now we just want to make a micro cut. You come back, you can parallel your bevel, come back like this, come over a 1/16 of an inch. And now, make sure you don't push it with your left hand. You get that vibration out here on the other. Took away the do not touch line. Okay.
The whole shaft is welded.
What?
That whole shaft is wobbling. There's so much distance out there. When you're coming into the center of it, it's wobbling. I
I don't know,
can see your truck going up
your
and down.
bearings may not be real tight either. Okay, so now what we've done is we face this thing off. What's the next cut we do? Safety cut. So now we're going to take our bowl gouge. We're going to take this real sharp edge right here, because if we slip, what happens? We get scarred. What?
Put the tailstock on the floor.
I can put the tailstock on the floor?
You slice your wrist when you touch it.
No, this right here, I'm talking about, you go in
It's
here.
like a deli
If
shave.
you slip in here, that'll slice you. Right?
That's why he calls it a safety cut. So you don't touch it.
I'm just taking the lower blade and rounding that off a little bit. Now, what's the third cut I'm gonna make? What's the third cut we're gonna make? The wall thickness. What wall thickness are we gonna maintain all the way around? Okay. So now, on a dry bowl, right, we have to be able to make this wall and what we call step it down. If we're going to make it thin, because if we go down here and we thin out down here, then we're going to get more vibration up here. So what we want to do is we just want to step it down, step it down, step it down, and make the same wall thickness all the way around with a pair of calipers. Right. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this so I don't get that. I think Dan might have had an elbow injury at some time from that.
Pain is a good teacher.
You don't make that mistake twice, do you?
Okay, so what I've done is I have adjusted my tool rest so that when I have my tool level, I'm at the center of rotation. Okay. So now I put my finger on the outside. I take the bevel on my bowl gouge and I put it on my finger. Then I move it over. I have my bowl gouge up at 45 degrees. And I touch that surface. And that's going to be the thickness of my bowl all the way down. So, in order to, we got to keep paralleling that shape all the way down. Right? Get our bevel out there. There it is. Touch my finger. Transfer it over. Now just roll this around. And that starts my shape. That vibration is terrible. So now I know where I want to come up to. But my final cut has to come from the base up to the rim. So what I'll do is I'll drill in. We push the tool directly into the center. We drill and we pull. We drill and we pull. Drill and pull. Okay, so now I'm going to do two things. I'm going to make a cut up the grain, and then we're going to make a cut with the grain support. You can see the difference. So now I'm going up the broom fibers, and as you'll see, Can the camera see that where it's torn? Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. So now if I come the other way, right? This is gonna, no problem. We'll just use one with a steeper angle. Right? It's got an 80-degree angle on it, like that. That's a bottom feeder. Still a bowl gouge. Right? So what I'll do, I'll drop that down just a little bit. So now I'm going to come out, but the problem is the bowl gouge, the configuration on the blade, it comes out sideways. So as I'm pushing forward, it wants to scrape that a little bit. Yeah. So as I push that tool across the bottom, all right, if anybody wants to come up here and feel it, this is end grain, all right, you can still feel a little fuzz because the bowl gouge has the wrong configuration to do the final cut on a dry end grain bowl. What tool do you have in your toolbox that does work? Anybody? Spindle gouge, exactly. All right, so we find us a spindle gouge here somewhere. What was that long handled drum? Okay, here we go. Okay, so what we do is we put this on the grinding wheel. If I want to have a 45-degree angle on this, I put the flutes on top of my finger. I point my finger at the grinding wheel, and I do what? I just roll it around like this, and I get a flat 45-degree angle. If it's a deeper bowl, and let's say I want that at 60 degrees, then I do what? I hold it at 60 degrees, transfer it to the wheel, bring it up and around. Does that grinder work, or can we demonstrate it, or? I don't care. All right, let me.
It worked.
Okay, let me try this here. Well, I've got one. All right, this has got a, you can see where I've touched this edge on the wheel, and I've got that edge, and then I've gone all the way around. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this in here, and this spindle gouge is almost perfectly aligned with the rotation. We're going to push it up towards 10 o'clock, and when we get to the edge of the bowl, then we can, since this is ground all the way down here, then we're just going to pull it up the edge of the bowl, and it'll slice it all the way. We should have a non-ending ribbon. Let me put this in there a little bit. There we go. How about this vibration on here? But you should be able to see a ribbon come off of this. Now what I do, I have a lathe with movable heads. So I move the head down, and when I'm doing a bowl, I stand off the end so I don't have to bend over, you know. So now we're going to make this final cut. We should get a little angel hair ribbon. You're gonna have the reverberations in there from that vibration, but there's absolutely no tear out. And I can give this bowl to somebody to, finish out or whatever. We can go on to side grain work. It's just a shame that we got this vibration problem.
It's all in that shaft. I can just sit there and watch
That
it.
shaft is, anyway, but there's,
I know that's buggy Mark, because I've seen him do this on a regular lathe and
it's like
no
glass,
sound
man. It's like
whatsoever.
glass. Anyway, that's okay.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
But what I want you to do, other than reverberations, what I want you to do is I want you to see that there's absolutely no tear outs on the outside and there's no tear outs on the inside. And we'll move on to our side grain thing. This will be a nice little bowl to finish. Another thing, if you do any sanding, remember this. If you don't know this, you need to know it. I need a guinea pig. Somebody come up here real quick. Somebody come up here real quick. Anybody. Come on, anybody.
I'll volunteer you.
Put that piece of sandpaper in there to sand the inside of that. Okay. Now, watch what happens. You see this? When you push it in there, it makes wrinkles.
Mm-hmm.
So the wrinkles, where it's wrinkled up there, makes a higher pressure point than it doesn't. So every time you sand and you have a wrinkle in there, you're creating more scratches.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get out to 800, you're going to create more scratches. And it's like you can never stop sanding because you've always got pressure points in there.
So you tear it right in the middle.
Right. We do a simple dart cut. Right. If you have a pair of scissors, you do a simple dart cut, and then when you bend it in there, right, your darts will expand and overlap, and you won't have your pressure points. You'll save yourself an hour of sanding.
I saw you do that on YouTube.
That's the reason I volunteered.
Okay. I'm sorry for the reverberations, but what I want you to see is that there's no tear out on our final cuts. Because I know we've got a time. What time are we?
We got 15 more minutes?
Oh, okay, we gotta do this. Okay. But I just want you to finish. I'll give you an idea, right, that your final cut can be, other than that vibration, it should be clean. And your outside cut should be clean.
Yeah, he's having to go slower because of the
Right,
vibration.
it's crazy. Okay, side grain. How many people do side grain bowls? Has anybody ever had any tear out on a side grain bowl?
That's why I quit turning boxes.
I think you said that wrong. Has anybody ever not had that?
Oh, it came out again. And I got a truckload of box elder out there if anybody's interested after the circus here.
I may have to.
I'm
I
serious.
have never turned box elder rather than get turned. I don't care how sharp.
Mark makes box elders and look like it's nothing.
You know what this is? Piece of box elder. If you bring in the worst case scenario and people see that,
Well, I love it. Of course, it stays.
well, there's a couple of things you can do about that.
It's beautiful.
Number
Very
one,
well.
what did I do with my expression? Number one, all right, what you can do is, after you've sanded to your 800 random orbit, before you put your finish on, you can take bullfrog sunscreen, soak it in, right, and let it soak in and dry for 3 or 4 days. You can put any finish on it you want. And that'll-
Bullfrog.
Bullfrog sunscreen, get
Like
it,
SPF.
right, 85 or 50 or something. You just get
There
it.
you go.
Didn't know that one, did you?
I've never heard of that.
Okay.
I'll have to give that a whirl.
You can go to the local drugstore and get it. You know? Right. You gotta make sure, right, that you don't get the kind with all the grease in it, because that's not good for finishes. But that's one way. The other thing you can do is Helmsman Spar Varnish has an ultraviolet light inhibitor in it. If you want wipe on poly, Petri, P-E-T-R-I, makes a product with ultraviolet light inhibitor that you can wipe on and wipe off. And some people take and they enhance it with a little bit of dye, aniline dye or something like that. All right, let's put this between centers real quick here. This is some ugly, soft stuff that should be pretty dry. See, everybody comes in and what they want to do is they want to give you this demo with wet stuff, right? And they never get around to doing the finish. Anyway, we're going to do these dry cuts here real quick. Let's take this off. That's pretty close for tonight.
Okay, it says 0 over there. I didn't know if it's still recording or not.
It should be.
Oh, okay.
I think that's your battery.
Your tape, or your card's full. Well, that's Stacy's. I don't know what we do about that.
I look,
Yeah.
probably,
Yeah.
got another one in here.
Okay, so what tool are we going to use on a side grain bowl? Olga. So it was designed for. Okay, let's turn this speed down a little bit. Has anybody ever done that?
Who's turning who?
Okay. You ever seen this before tonight? You lock the heel of your hand on the tool rest, use it as a rotational point. We drop the gouge down at 45 degrees. We lay it 45 degrees across the flukes, right? We put the handle on our body, right? We lock this down. We have our 45, we do what? We just move our body through. And now it's actually making round, it's not candy. See, even through the gaps or anything else, it doesn't make any difference. So, use your body. Don't try to fight a tool. Hot right there. Okay, we still have a little gap. I'll get rid of that. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the 3 bowl cuts. One is the pull cut. The top of your blade, the top blade is 1/4 of an inch away from the surface, and you draw it around with your hip. Okay? So what's the result? It's a direct scrape, isn't it? So see the end grain? What is your soft box elder? The end grain's all tore up in a scrape, isn't it? So what's your next option?
Peel.
What?
Peel cut.
I don't know what a peel cut is.
Slice.
What?
Slice.
A slice? Okay. Well, we're going to do a shear pull.
Shear.
So now we drop the tool down at a 45-degree angle. We roll the bowl gouge upside down, and we have the top blade a 32nd to a 64th. And when we do that, now we draw our hip around. Now you're going to see angel hair. This is a shear pull. So now that lower blade is in line with the rotation. So now we got rid of almost all that tear out. We've still got some, but that got rid of almost all of it because now our blade we got a little right there. So our final cut on a side grain bowl has to be a push cut from the bottom to the top. Okay? And then again, before you do a final cut, you'd always put a fresh burr on your tool. Okay, here we go. You got a little bit right there. A little bit right there. Let me try another option here. All right, let me just take this one, might be a little sharper. there. It's real punky. Other than that, you feel it, pass it around, it's sliced pretty good. Let me make a recess on there real quick. Since it's between centers, all right, we won't be able to use, if this was on a faceplate, we could use a skew or something like that. It's between centers, so we're going to use a recess tool. All right, I have a 7-degree dovetail on my jaws. So if I'm out here, I'm trying to fight this tailstock. We'll just put it on the tool rest right here. Okay, I've got my recess. I have to take this center pin away. So when you clamp down the jaws, it'll fit in the hole in the middle. Pass that around if you want. Just turn it around real quick. We'll face it off. Okay, do our safety cut, figure out where our wall is. Now, when you turn the corner down here, this is where you get most of this tear out, right there. I want you men to watch this. This is the most important thing I'm going to show you tonight. People put their bowl gouge down inside the bowl like this. The leverage point is going to move all the way back to here on this bowl gouge. And there's not a man in this room that can control a bowl gouge that far over the tool rest. And so they get all this crap going on, and next thing you know they got tear outs and their bottom looks like nothing, right? Okay, so watch what's going to happen. Watch the leverage point. It's about, what, an inch away? See it right here? It's about an inch away from where the tip is. Alright, just watch this. See it moving backwards? Now this isn't real deep, right? But it's moving backwards. So how are we going to compensate for that? So now, I can control it right there. Then I can move my tool rest down. And I can always have my tool rest an inch or so away from my work. Now, if we look at this, since this is a side grain bowl, right, you're going to see that the bowl gouge on that punky wood actually did a pretty good job, didn't it? But the secret to a cut is a bottom feeder. This has got an 80-degree grind on it. And we're going to push that across the bottom. It's still going to be like glass, even on this punky old wood. So if you don't have a bottom feeder, so now you'll see that punky wood when I did that with the bottom feeder. All right. Pass it around real quick. You see the outside. We had that one punky area right there. It could have been dead. But I want you to feel the inside cut. We got one little area right there, but most of it is sliced pretty clean. All right, I guess we're out of time. If you guys have any questions, give me a call. You're welcome to call me and come over, get a couple guys, come over to the shop. If you have something you're having a problem with, you got an iPhone, give me a call. We'll put the iPhone over the leg. I can show you exactly, right? It doesn't cost us anything. We can have a live conversation. Thank you very much for inviting me, and if you want to have a workshop, just let me know. Thank you. Go to YouTube and look up my on wood slicing. Go to the website. You see it. We didn't get into the Parfix finishing tonight or anything, but if you go to YouTube, look up Mark Sillay finishes wood with Parfix 3408, you'll see that.
You still sell?
What?
You still sell the glue?
Oh yeah.
Hey, Mark, is it okay if I put links to your all your videos on our
Sure.
Facebook page?
Sure.
So I'll do that. I'll put links to that.